Context: I am 25, female. My parents have been divorced for 15 years. My dad has been married to his wife, Laura, for 10 years. Laura has 2 daughters, Katie, 26, female, and Sam, 22, female. My dad is very close to Katie and Sam and considers them to be daughters to him. The grandfather I'm referring to is my dad's father. My grandfather has a diamond that belonged to my great-grandmother, and it's something of a family miracle, since my grandfather managed to find it after World War II. Unfortunately, he lost his mother and sister in the war, so he saved the diamond to be for the next woman in the family, to be set into an engagement ring. Now, my grandfather has a thing about blood and family. Namely, if you're not blood, you can be family, but you're not in the family. And I'm pretty sure this is somewhat related to his trauma, but it might be a generational thing. Because of this distinction, his aunts were not allowed to use the diamond for their wives' rings, because then the diamond would belong to the wife and the wife is not blood. I'm his only biological granddaughter, so it was always presumed that the diamond would go to me. I got engaged last year and I didn't end up using the diamond for the ring. The diamond was not a color or the cut of the style I wanted, and my grandfather knew that. He offered to have the diamond recut, but I begged him not to because it is very valuable, and I know how much it means to him. So, he agreed that when I get married, he will set it into a necklace to be worn on my wedding day instead. Now, Katie is going to get engaged soon, and my dad is likely to be asked to walk her down the aisle. Laura asked my grandfather to give her the diamond for Katie's ring, since she is basically my father's daughter. My grandfather said, and I quote, "Not even over my dead body," and that the diamond will stay in the family. That said, Laura, my dad, and Katie are now extremely upset. My dad suggested maybe I could ask my grandfather to let them use the diamond, since I hadn't used it for a ring anyway, and that he considers Katie part of his family and will be forever. So it should be okay for her to have it, especially since she is older, so the first woman as it were. My grandfather would probably relent if I asked him, but I said no, because I would feel too guilty. That diamond is all my grandfather has left of a family he lost in the most horrific circumstances when he was 9 years old. They don't even have graves. That stone is literally all he has to remember them. What right do any of us have to dictate what he does with it? Katie, Laura, and my dad have all been texting and calling about how hurt they are, that I am letting my grandfather exclude Katie from the family, and that I already have a ring. Why can't I just help my grandfather soften and let Laura and her kids be part of the family? I'm holding firm on it for now, but should I be? Now for the top comments. The diamond is all my grandfather has left of a family he lost in the most horrific circumstances when he was 9 years old. They don't even have graves. That stone is literally all he has to remember them. What right do any of us have to dictate what he does with it? Not the a-hole. I love you for this. For this statement alone, the diamond should go to you. Allow him to set it in a necklace and wear it all the time. It will make your grandpa happy. Not the a-hole. Reading between the lines, it seems your grandfather lost his family specifically because of their blood/genealogy. It makes sense that his own survivors matter so much to him. Not the a-hole. As much as they may be upset, it's not theirs. Your grandfather wants it to go to someone genetically related to him, not to someone brought into the family by marriage. His reasoning is exactly the same reason he didn't give it to the women marrying into the family. Grandpa has a right to say no. Your dad and stepsisters will just have to get over it. The hard truth is that they are not his grandchildren. They are step-grandkids, and family heirlooms don't typically pass down to stepchildren, especially with an older generation. And they became his step-kids as teens. It's not like he's been in their lives since they were babies. They likely didn't grow up viewing him as their grandfather at all, and while he may like them, they aren't his grandkids by blood or by social convention given their ages. Even if the kids had been adopted at birth, it wouldn't matter. They still wouldn't be blood relatives. Opie's the only one entitled to that diamond, as she's the only one genetically related to the grandfather. Opie's not the a-hole. I'll try to keep this short because I'm planning to go to a bar soon. I found out when she was about 6 months along. The guy Brian approached me at work. "Are you Sarah's boyfriend?" I said yeah and asked what he wanted. He said he was sorry, that he had slept with her and swore he didn't know that she was with someone, which I don't believe. He then pulled out his phone to show the texts between them. They had been sleeping together or linking up for at least a year. Then she found out she was pregnant, and they came to an agreement to just pretend the baby was mine. In return, she wouldn't lose her perfect life, and he wouldn't be responsible for a baby. I knew it was weird. We had been having problems trying for a baby and all of a sudden she got pregnant so easily. But he explained that he had been thinking about it and he recently became a Christian. He said that he couldn't live his life knowing that I was living a lie while his child didn't know their real father. So yeah, I told him I'd keep in touch and to not say that he said anything just yet. I've had a lot of time to think, but ultimately I decided to wait until she gave birth, to hurt her in her most vulnerable moment. I'll spare the details, but she went into labor, baby was born and was taken to the NICU to be monitored for a bit. What should have been a beautiful moment of holding my baby was the most heartbreaking time of my life. Just knowing that he was not mine hurt me. Once she was sewn up and comfortable, I started packing up my stuff to leave. She asked where I was going and I just told her, I know I'm not a baby's father. You can act all shocked, but I know. Just ask Brian to come. I'm positive he'll sign a birth certificate. Then I left. She's been calling my phone over and over, even sending texts as I type this. It has even gotten her sister to call me a few times. It was hard pretending these last few months, but I think I'm satisfied. I feel really heartbroken though. I was planning to propose to her on the day our baby was born. I was gonna make her the happiest woman ever. Oh well, I'm going to go get drunk now. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. I did sigh for relief when I saw you're not married to this woman. Take power from that. You can move on much easily. Same. Good riddance. I'm so sorry. No one deserves this. The crap she pulled is absolutely evil. It will get better with time, and you will be happy again with someone who deserves you. Go ahead and let her and Brian deal with the situation on their own. Shoot, I'm relieved he didn't sign a birth certificate. Some states consider him the actual father at that point. Get a DNA test just to be 100% sure the child isn't yours. But you did the right thing leaving her. Make sure you have the text from Brian so she can't twist the narrative. Edited to add, you also need a DNA test so she can't put you in child support. Cause if you're in the USA, it'll be hell to get you off it once the courts deem you the father. I'm like 110% sure that's not my kid just from looking at him, but I'll get the test. I get that, but it's just be on the safe side. You wouldn't want to find out 10 years later that it's yours. And you missed out on all the time and moments with a child. It won't hurt having something definitive that says you aren't the father. I plotted revenge against my ex-husband when I found out he was cheating on me when I was pregnant with our son. It felt good in the moment to stick it to him by telling the husband of his mistress what went on, but I was still miserable. It's been 3 years and I'm still in therapy for what I did. Best of luck, Opie. I hope you get therapy too. Cheaters are disgusting monsters. They truly deserve all the misery they encounter. They don't care that their actions can even create trauma in the victims. I hope you get better soon, and that the teeth and hair of this disgusting cheater rot and fall out. My husband's best friend's wife, Ellie, work at the same company I do. We are not very close because I always felt that she didn't like me. Anyway, apparently she had a crush on my husband. My husband and I often get invited to parties at their house, but I didn't go to Allie's 40th birthday last August. She had a huge party, but I was just starting with my worst morning sickness period, which nobody told me were not only reserved for mornings. Allie made a move on my husband and he got very upset and turned her down. Allie got angry and told him that everyone was doing it. All married couples cheat. Her husband was cheating and I was cheating. She told him it was a colleague of mine, a colleague my husband already disliked. When my husband got home, he was drunk and very upset. He confronted me, and I told him it wasn't true, but he slept in the sofa. A couple of weeks later, he told me to move out. Apparently, Allie provided my husband with information about my infidelity, late working hours, etc. I was shocked and had nowhere to go, so I moved in with my parents. My parents thought I was cheating too, and I felt like they had to take me in. I never felt so hurt in my life. How could my husband so simply believe such thing about me? Then he demanded a paternity test. In November, my husband found out the truth when another friend's wife told her husband what Allie did. My husband apologized and was devastated and wanted to make it up to me. He told me when Allie told him he didn't believe her. Then he found out that she was telling the truth about her husband being an adulterer, so he thought she was telling the truth about everything. If I wasn't pregnant, I would never have taken my husband back, but I just don't want my baby to be born without his parents being together. I love my stepdad, but he never loved me like he did his biological children, my half-siblings, and it gave me a lot of pain growing up. I moved back home a month ago, but we are still in therapy. But nothing feels the same. I don't even know what I feel about my husband. Sometimes I love him, sometimes I don't. He's trying to make me happy again, but it feels my change. Last time we made love, he kept telling me to come back to him, and then broke down crying while we were still intimate because I wasn't there, and he started blaming himself. I don't know what to do. I know I'm being a bit distant and it's not intentional. I need this to work, not only for our son but for us too. Help me find my way back to how it was, or at least give me ways to cope and try to live with the knowledge that things may be a bit worse moving forward. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Sounds like you need his and hers therapists and a couples to complete the hat trick. That's if you really think you want to make this work, and I'd give that some serious thought. If this was a complete departure for him, maybe that's worth it. But if you can't find it in yourself to forgive him, don't stay for the sake of the baby. Modeling an unhealthy relationship isn't going to be any better for your child than growing up with parents who are separated. Model happiness for your baby instead. Possibly relevant, did he cheat too because he thought you had? I understand everything you're saying. I just feel that I want this to work. We are in couples counseling and he is in therapy since everything happened. He didn't cheat exactly since we were divorcing, but he withdrew it when he found out I wasn't lying. But yes, he had slept with people. Something I can't shake off my mind every time he comes near me. He was pretty quick to distrust you and start sleeping with other people. I definitely think you need therapy, both separately as individuals and as a couple. But I don't think you should have to speed your healing. He betrayed you and destroyed your trust in him, while also harming your relationships with others. You are staying because your stepfather wasn't a good step-parent. Some people are amazing step-parent. Having a child is not a good reason to stay in a broken relationship. This will hurt the child way more than having divorced parents. Your husband didn't trust you. He put someone else's word over yours. He broke his vow done during marriage that you would be his partner and him yours. That you would be a team. He threw you out while pregnant, not even knowing yet if the kid was his. He had no right, as it is a marital home. I think it is a big mistake to go back to him, especially given your reasons. I'm 23 female, my parents are 45 female and 46 male. I have two brothers, 24 and 21, and a little sister 8. We grew up upper middle class. As children, my parents would buy my two brothers whatever they requested, regardless of how expensive it was, allowed them to go on trips with them and threw them over the top birthday parties which I didn't receive any. For example, my brothers got to go to Disney for their birthdays while I stayed with my grandparents. Fortunately, my aunt/grandma took me to Disney a few months later. After being called out, they said they couldn't afford a trip for 5. As we got a little older, my parents had us working in their business after school and weekends. They gave both my brothers allowances for helping out while I didn't receive anything, though I was expected to do more. I wish it was just financial abuse though. My parents always said very hurtful things. They'd also make horrible comments when I entered the room, and I honestly still don't know what I did wrong. When my older brother graduated high school, they gave him an all-inclusive trip around Europe for the summer. When I graduated the next year, I didn't even get a party from them. I think the worst of it being they paid for both my brother's higher education, but told me to figure it out because they can't afford to pay for 3 college degrees. At 18, I moved in with my grandparents full-time and decided not to go to college because I didn't want to get into debt or put that burden on my grandparents, who offered to pay for some. I did, however, take them up on their offer to financially support me until I had a job. My grandma gifted me about $5,000 after moving in with her to help me start an online business I told her about. Long story short, my online shop blew up and made well over 6 figures my first year. Within 5 years, 2 online shops and a lot of investing in real estate and stocks, I now make way more money than my parents ever made combined. During the pandemic, my parents had to shut down their restaurant and are still struggling to make ends meet. They are also unable to pay for their mortgage and are afraid they'll go homeless if I don't support them. They also have a lot of medical bills after my father got into an accident and needed surgery for his knee. I, being so grateful for everything my grandparents and aunts have done for me, decided to get my grandparents their dream home and paid off my aunt's debts for medical school. After realizing I can also easily afford to pay off their debts/mortgage, my parents have been begging me, literally in tears, to save their home, but I refused. They told me I'm an a-hole and said I deserved my upbringing but that I shouldn't be punishing my siblings and forcing them out their homes for the actions of my parents. I'm not punishing my siblings though. I'll be more than happy to support them, especially my baby sister if she comes and stays with me or my grandparents. Am I the a-hole for watching them become homeless? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. As soon as you refused, the mask slipped. They told you that you deserved their mistreatment. It's very telling that they are aware they mistreated her. They acknowledged they were terrible parents to her by saying that. And yet, they still expect her to financially support them. They have some nerve. She owes them nothing and I'd be sure to tell them so. Not the a-hole. You reap what you sow. Where are the two brothers they gave so much to help them out? My younger brother, 21, is still in school and my older brother has a great tech job but has a family of his own and isn't able to support them much. Not the a-hole. But what do your grandparents think? Does it pain them to see their children like this? However, forgetting your parents for a minute, your siblings may resent you for life. Even your baby sister, for breaking up the family. You say baby sister can come stay with you away from her parents? I'd think long and hard about this. Maybe there is something you could do that meets in the middle. Like a deferred loan in writing or something. Just enough to not lose the house. This way it's just a small favor. My maternal grandparents, the ones that took care of me growing up, are on my side and don't think it's right for my parents to ask me for anything. They obviously feel bad for their daughter's situation, but don't think it's my responsibility, especially when they've called her out multiple times and she didn't change. Also, they aren't really a fan of my father. As for my siblings, they're fully aware of my treatment and wish they did something growing up but couldn't. They don't blame me for not wanting to help. We have a great relationship and I plan to support my younger siblings, 21 and 8. My little sister doesn't know anything about this and hopefully is kept that way until she gets older.